Mark said he has a hard time remembering because he's getting older. I'm trying to figure out what my excuse is going to be. I mean, there's things that this little pulpit likes to wiggle and walk around. It's not that I don't remember things. There are a lot of things I remember. I remember falling out of a tree when I was a kid, nearly breaking my arm. I remember falling off a rope swing and landing on a huge pile of concrete. I remember falling out of a tree and hitting so hard on one side I nearly just... There's a lot of falling in my memories for some reason. But one of the things I really remember is this. My dad snapped his fingers. Like that, okay? No matter where we were, what we were doing, we heard... And my brother and I were like, where? Where's he at? We look like hunted animals in the Walmart. Actually, for us, it was the Myers Thrifty Acres. You guys don't know that because y'all are Southerners, but you'll learn someday maybe. God will bless you with the knowledge of Myers Thrifty Acres. Anyway, the truth of the matter is this, is we would hear anywhere, and we were like, where's he at? Where's he at? We would go up and down aisles, we'd be looking around, and we'd hear it again, and it was like echolocation. I can find it. And we would go all over the place. People used to think our dad would snap at us when he was mad at us. And now let's be honest. My brother's 10 months and 23 days younger than I am. We aren't twins, but you don't get a whole lot closer than that. And when you got two of us that are see, at home, he was like, you guys are roughly the same size. I don't expect either one of you to kill the other one, so you should be okay. But when we got out into public, we were not supposed to mess around, but when you have somebody roughly the same age and the same size as you, guess what you do the whole time? You mess around, even if you're not supposed to. You know you can poke him before he's going to poke you, and you know your parents are going to yell at him instead of you after he tries to retaliate poke. Come on, you guys know you did it at some time. Boop. Right? So we do this, and my dad, and when he wanted to get our attention, he'd snap his fingers. And we'd be like, yes, he better stop now. He's getting there. Everybody in the church, everybody that saw it happen, they all thought it was discipline. They thought it was us being in trouble. But it wasn't about discipline. My dad snapping didn't mean we were in trouble. Instead, we knew that it was our dad calling us. When he would snap his fingers, he didn't have to go, boys, come on. He didn't have to go, hey, guys, come on, let's go. He didn't have to do any of that. He snapped, and immediately we knew our Father was calling us. And so we were attentive to that sound, the sound of his snap. In John 10, Jesus starts to give us a lot of information about who's going to hear him and who's not. And that's where we're going to kind of dive in. Because in the very first couple of verses, he starts talking to the Pharisees. Anyone who doesn't enter by the sheep gate but climbs over by any other way is a thief. You know what? Anybody who doesn't come in my house by the door but tries to go in through the window, they thieves. Now in Oklahoma, that's a scary thing. You don't want to be a thief. Somebody knows. That's all I needed to know. Somebody knew what I was saying. In Oklahoma, you don't climb through the window. You don't try to sneak in somebody's house because most Oklahomans have these things called guns. And we will defend our property, if I'm not mistaken. But the truth of the matter is this. Those who come in by the windows, who try to sneak in at night, who try to get past me and my family, are thieves that are going to try and take my stuff. Now, if you come to my house and you are my guest, or you are my friend, or you are mine, you may not come in through the front door because that's a long walk. We usually open the garage for folks. We're backdoor people. We're the people that let you come through the back door and you see all our mess, and we just go, it is what it is. Come on in. Sorry. Whew. Might not have, maybe should have gone that way. Anyway, but Jesus looks at the Pharisees and goes, guys, listen to me. Here's what it really is. Listen tight. Anybody who goes over the wall is a thief and a robber. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. You know what? The one who walks through the door is the owner. Pure and simple. And then we get into verse 3. The gatekeeper opens the gate. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes on ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice. but they will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice. I wonder how many of us are good at hearing our master's voice. I don't mean to be horrible. It's just we have a cacophony of noises that surround us every single day. We have so much noise. It is like a cloud of noise on a pea soup fog kind of day whenever we try to do anything. And I think the master's voice can get hidden in some places. The problem is I don't know about most of y'all. Do y'all have to have like some sound going when you sleep? Okay? We had for 10 months, almost a year, we had a oxygen condenser in our bedroom because I had to have the hose on when I slept at night. And so that thing went, now you want to sleep with that in a room? And the first few nights, I was like, this is awful. What is the deal? Now, those of you with CPAPs can go, dude, you don't even know nothing yet. But the truth of the matter is that we had that in our room, and like Amy and I, for like the first week, we were like, let us sleep, please. Because it was awful. But when I had to take that stupid machine back and give it back, the first night we slept, we both kind of laid in bed going, I miss it. The problem is this, even though it was an unwanted sound, we got used to it. And as we got used to it, we didn't just get used to it and be able to tolerate it, we got used to it and incorporated it into ourselves. And as we incorporated it into ourselves, it became something that was honestly almost indispensable for us. Because we had learned to put this inconvenience into our lives. My question for us today to some degree is this. What have we listened to that used to be an inconvenience, but today is essential because we stopped listening to the master's voice and started listening to the inconvenience? And the more we listen to it, and the more we allow it into our lives, and the more we have it hitting us over and over and over again, the more indispensable it seems to become in our lives. I'm going to tell you a secret. I did take the machine back because I never wanted to see it again. It's bad juju. I did not like it. It was not a good memory, not a good time in my life. And we took it away and put it away. And here's the miracle. When that thing wasn't doing that in our bedroom anymore, we both went to sleep. And we both slept pretty well. And we both did okay without it. How much would I rather not have a thief who steals my sleep or a thief that steals my peace than the master who opens the gate for me? If we are Jesus's, we are to hear his voice. We are to hear him speaking to us. We are to spend time communing with him so that we know when he talks to us. On the other hand, from childhood, what are we taught? Are you ready? From childhood, we're taught stranger danger. If you've never seen the Skit Guys, you need to get on the Skit Guys, put stranger danger in there and find it. It is hilarious. But it's straight. Who was taught stranger danger? Anybody? Do we have anybody actually taught that? Okay. For the rest of you, did your parents just let you jump in vans with anybody? Is that what I'm hearing? As long as they had candy. Yeah, candy was the telling effect. There you go. Are you sure you know who your parents? I'm sorry. Anyway, so the truth of the matter is, from little kids on, we're taught strangers are bad. Stranger danger. Don't go with strangers. Don't do things with strangers. Don't listen to strangers. Don't do all that. And yet, here is the deal. When it comes to a stranger coming in to replace our Jesus, we don't run away. Instead, we like to poke at it and go, well, what are you all about? Instead, we look at it and we go, well, I wonder what this will do in my life if I let this in. Instead of running away like stranger danger when somebody comes to try and replace Jesus in our lives with whatever it is, we have to examine it first before we know if we need to run away from it. Do you know what happens if you try to examine a polar bear before you run away from it? I don't have to go much further, do I? If you don't know, I can show you a video. It ain't pretty. When we are called by something, when we're looking at something we know is not good for us, don't stand there and try to figure it out. Run away. Guys, that is exactly what Paul tells Timothy to do. In Timothy 6:11 through 12, it says, "But you, man of God, flee from all this." Flee. He doesn't say, hey, you might not want to get involved in that. Hey, it's a bad idea. He says, flee, run away, get away, bad, stranger danger. Because Paul knows, particularly for a young man, but I'm telling you right now, for anybody, when you begin to pursue the ideas that you know are not from Christ, they will overcome you. But you, man of God, flee from all this and pursue righteousness, godliness, faith, love, endurance, and gentleness. Fight the good fight of faith. Take hold of the eternal life to which you were called when you made your good confession in the presence of many witnesses. There is so much for us to run to in God's love. There is so much for us to run to in the Master's voice, yet we hear these little things that we know aren't quite right, and instead of running away from them, we try to dig into them. The polar bear wins every time, guys. I've met a lot of guys in a lot of professions. I've met a lot of guys in ministry professions that go, I'm going to research this. And I look at them and go, why? Well, I think it's a problem in the United States, and I want to research it so that I'm cognizant of it, so that I can speak to it intelligently. That particular guy is now an atheist teaching a class on wokeness at a large college. The polar bear wins every time. Run away. The thing is this, and people are like, well, how should we try to run away? Where should we go? Here's the statement for that. It doesn't matter. Run away with confidence. Run knowing that the one that saved us, he has a plan and a path for us to come back to him away from those things that are false. Jesus knows when something is confronting us. Jesus knows when we're about to be overcome by something. Jesus knows when we need help. He will give us a way back to him every single time because he is the way. In John 10, 9 through 10, it reads like this: I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. They will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. But I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. Before that section, Jesus says, I'm telling you, everybody that comes before me, thieves and robbers. I come to give it life to the full. Again, and I've talked about this so many times, I don't want anybody to be confused. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. No man goes to the Father except through him. But the other side of that is this: as much as he is true salvation, inside of that as well, he is the only true rest. I try to find rest. Sometimes I think I'm just going to sit down and I'm not going to go crazy doing anything, or I'm going to sit down and just try and take a breather, or go find a peaceful spot, or go grab a coffee, or go sit at McDonald's and do nothing, whatever. But you know what happens to me? I rest about as well as I stay behind this pulpit. I sit down and I think I'm just going to rest, going to let my mind relax a little bit. And what happens is my mind starts going, but you got this and 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 this. I am an overthinker in every single way humanly possible, no matter what I'm doing. I sit down and have a coffee and I look at it and go, do I want to put cream in it or do I not? Do I want to put sugar in it? What if I put sugar in it? Sugar comes from cane. Cane comes up out of the ground. That's kind of weird. That means coffee and the sweetness is from the ground, but they're both bitter. Coffee's bitter and sugar is sweet, and they're both come to the same place, but it makes a different. Do you guys see something really bad happening in my brain? I think there are doctors who need to know about it. But the truth of the matter is this: I overthink everything. And it never gives me pure rest. Time, intellect, feelings, they will not give you pure rest. Only the knowledge that you are saved in Jesus Christ and nothing can touch you can give you full rest. Because he is the way, the truth, and the life. He is true rest. And life to the full is the promise for all those who hear his voice. I'm going to be honest with you, too, that when I was a kid, I remember, again, back to my memories, because, I only have 4, laying in bed on a summer day and hearing the scrambled eggs, my mom, and pouring them in there and hearing them sizzle, and I smelled the sausage coming out of the kitchen, and I remember laying there, and I remember just my mom going, "It's okay, you can stay there for a while, breakfast isn't ready yet." And you know what that meant to me? My whole body relaxed. I found that my bed, as the Tempur-Pedic says, cradled my body in all the spots correctly. My blanket would go up over my head a little bit more. I would block out the sun for a little while more, and I would go completely at rest because the voice that I knew was keeping me safe told me it was okay to relax. Not my voice, but I could see the things that she was doing for my good, and the voice told me to relax. And so do you know what I did? I relaxed. If you're listening to his voice, if you are really steeping yourself in his word and in his voice, listen carefully and see the good he's doing in your life. And learn to relax in him for a while. Find rest. I always think about my dad snapping. My brother and I, and we're there, right? But what was funny is this. We had a bunch of folks that we ran around with, particularly from church. Like Wendy's on a Sunday afternoon, you didn't bother to go there because they might as well have just put our church's logo right across the front of the building. This is our church. We're going to be there at 11:57, so get out the way if you're in there because we're coming to eat, okay? That was what we did. There were 5, 6, 7 families. If we didn't go there, we went to Little Caesars and plugged quarters into a game all afternoon. But there was one thing that we all knew, all the kids knew, because we all sat at the same table, and we knew this. You heard that, and every single kid in that group, their heads went up looking like meerkat in the savannah. Because it wasn't just my brother and I. Everybody knew my dad snap. And when my dad would snap his fingers, everybody around us went, "Mr. Barry, where's Mr. Barry at? Where's Brian? Where's Mr. Barry? I can't find Brian. Mr. Barry, I heard him snap, but I can't find him." And all of us would just look around like crazy people. It was really bad if you had somebody walking down the street who really thought something went like that and they kind of gave the same snap. We got really confused sometimes. But we were in a group and all of us knew Mr. Barry would keep us safe. And so when we heard that snap, I'm telling you, we looked like little prairie dogs coming out of our holes. Where's he at? My brother and I were his kids, but the rest were part of his flock. And so they knew his snap just as well as my brother and I did. I need you guys to understand that Jesus doesn't just love one small group of his people. He loves everybody that's in the flock. And we can all hear his voice. We're going to look at John 10, 14 through 16. I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and my sheep know me, just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that are not of this sheep pen. I must bring them also. They too will listen to my voice, and there shall be one flock and one shepherd. We are great at dividing ourselves. I talk about this a lot too. We are great at dividing ourselves. We're great at dividing ourselves over theology. We're great at dividing ourselves over socioeconomics. Let's just say the whole thing and get it out there in one great word. We're great at separating ourselves over race. We're great at separating ourselves over anything and everything you can think of. We're great at separating ourselves over whether you watch CNN or Fox. I did say the great bad word, but I'm going to let you figure out which one I'm talking about. We're great at separating ourselves out over whether or not you're young or old. We're great at separating ourselves out over married and unmarried. We're great at separating ourselves out over for anything we can find a difference for. We separate ourselves. It's the dumbest thing in the world. Because we all hear the same Savior's voice. We have all been saved by the same sacrifice. We've all been redeemed by the same blood. We have all been allowed to know Jesus Christ. And still we look at each other, or somebody new comes in, or somebody that doesn't fit our mold comes in, and we go, what are they doing here? Why are they here? You go talk to them. I'm not talking to them. I can't. No. In the church, it cannot be that way. The only thing we have going for us as a church is the fact that we are unified under the banner of Jesus Christ. Unity is so important. I'm going to take you back to Ephesians. I preached on it not long ago. Ephesians 4, 1 through 6. As a prisoner for the Lord, then I urge you to live a life worthy of the calling you have received. Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. There is one body, one Spirit, just as you were called to one hope when you were called. One Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is over all and through all and in all. The unity of the church is all we got. The unity and love of the church is all we've got. We have got to start looking to that. We've got to look to use that to our advantage. We've got to look for those that He loves but seem distant to us. You don't know what I'm talking about? Our leadership's about to have at our next leadership meeting, I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to ask it now so they can get a jump start on it. Are you ready? What 7 things can we do to outreach to our community? What 7 needs can we meet in our community? And what is dumbfounding to me is I actually watched a video the other day about a guy who asked that question to a bunch of church leaders, and the church leaders went, well, we give to the food bank. That's barely one. What are the other 6 ways that we can meet needs in their community? And one of them got really honest. He goes, I don't even know what the needs of the community are. And another one looked at him and went, I guess my community's the church. I have no problem if your community is the church. But that community needs to be reaching out to the lost. And the only way we can reach out to the lost is when we know what the needs of the lost are. Jesus didn't walk around going, follow me for no reason. I got nothing. Bring it on. Now, the funny part is, after they started following him, that is what he said. Foxes have dens, birds have nests, but the Son of Man's got nowhere to lay his head. So basically, Jesus looked at him after they started following him and went, okay, you're all in now. I got nothing. Except for the fact I'm the Savior of the world. You'll receive my love and the love of God, and you'll receive salvation, and you'll receive exemption from death if you follow me. But what do we tell our community? What need do we meet for them that we can say, this is the love of Christ coming at you? For those of you that are in leadership, heads up. See, the problem is from the 60s, 70s, 80s, we had a mentality that we went to church. And people would come to church because that's what you do. In the 60s, 70s, 80s, 50s, you went to church because that's what people did. You found a church you liked. You found a church that matched the doctrine that you had. You found a church that your parents went to. You found a church that your wife went to, your husband went to. Maybe even you moved where your kids were at, and you found a church where your kids went to church. And you went to church because what do? You go to church. That's where you find community. That's where you find people that you can reach out to. That's where you find people you can connect with. In today's world, I can connect with 1 million more people than I can in this church in 5 minutes on an internet. So why am I coming to church? Here's the flip side. The community that has needs, Jesus loves them. The community that has needs, they need to hear his voice and know it as their saviors. Know it as their shepherds. The community that has needs is the exact same as us, except for the fact that we are protected by the Master's gate. So why wouldn't we try to meet their needs and teach them about the one we love? It'll be hard to change a mindset that says we open up, our church is open to everybody. You know what? Everybody doesn't want to come to church anymore. It doesn't matter how open your church is. Everybody doesn't want to come to church anymore. Until they know how much you want to help them. Until they know what kind of needs you meet. Until they know all this stuff. We have to change our mindset that has followed us for years. We must acknowledge the paradigm shift that has taken place in the world that says church is not the most important thing. Because how much less can we do for the one that has laid his life down voluntary for us and taken it up again than to go try and show people his love? People think I'm crazy. I talk too much about my family when I preach. People think I'm overly sharing about my family and the stories that I use and everything else. But I'm going to tell you something. I talk about the things I love. That's my family. If I didn't ever talk about my family, people would wonder what I thought about them. Sometimes people may wonder what I think about them by what I share too, let's face it. But the truth of the matter is, I love my family, and so I want to tell people about them because I think you all need to know my family because they're awesome. When are you going to start taking that to the streets with Jesus Christ? Because we have a shepherd that loves us so much, he laid his life down and chose to take it up again. He chose to lay it down. John 10, 17 and 18. It says, "The reason my Father loves me is that I lay down my life, only to take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have authority to lay it down and authority to take it up again. This command I received from my Father." Jesus had the authority to lay it down. He had the authority to take it up. Do you know what that means? Jesus didn't have to lay it down. Now, to glorify his Father and to love his Father and to be in compliance with his Father, he had to lay it down. But it still wasn't fun. And when you get down to brass tacks, he didn't have to. He did for us. For love. We can say, working in the community, that's hard. I don't want to have to work in the community. There are voices riddled with us telling us that we can't do anything for the community, that it's going to be hard to reach people. But you know what? It wasn't a whole lot of fun going and getting whipped by the soldiers. It was less fun putting that crown on his head, having that put on his head. It was even less fun having a big old cross thrown on his shoulders and pushed through the streets. It was less fun when they started driving nails, and it was no fun when they dropped him in the hole. But he loved you, and he met your need, even though it was hard, because he is the good shepherd, and it is his voice we need to hear. The paradigm has to shift for us to be able to stay with the Master's voice. His authority has already stretched our salvation, guys. He has stretched his authority to our salvation. He has taken death from us. Now comes the hard part, is reaching those that need to hear his voice. The world is riddled with voices that want to tell us things that are not true. What cracks me up is the ways the world reaches out to us and says, I'll save you. Politicians are going to save me. Did you know that? If I watch any commercials, politicians are going to save me. Somehow or another, through some stimulus act or whatever, politicians are going to save me through some kind of bailout. Tech companies are going to save me. They have a watch that will, it scares me. There was a show I watched one time, and the guy had a house that was an automated house, and from him going to the bathroom and everything, the house would be like, hey, your electrolytes are a little high. We probably need to watch that. Okay? What scares me is that house has now been shrunk down to the size of a watch. And I feel like that watch knows everything about me, and I don't wear one because it scares the bejeebies out of me. Because that watch can tell me what my blood pressure is, it tells me what my heart rate is, it tells me what my blood oxygen is, it tells me what I ate, how many I walked, what I ran, if I went upstairs, it tells me all that. That's creepy, guys. When people used to do that, we called them stalkers. But tech companies are telling us that they are going to fix our lives with the latest and greatest invention. And even other religions or people with lack thereof. They're going to save us from our own narrow-mindedness. They're going to save us from trying to do what's right and teach us how to broaden our minds and accept tolerance as a religion. It's terrifying sometimes to recognize just how many people want to save us. The thing that keeps me sane is this: I know the one that already has, and I follow his voice. See, the world is going to respond to the Good Shepherd, and a lot of them are going to act like the Jews did in verse 19. The Jews who heard these words were again divided. Many of them said, he is demon-possessed and raving mad. Why listen to him? That's what the world thinks. You Christians are all backward thinkers. You Christians are all faith. You Christians are all this. You Christians are all love. But you guys don't even know how to show love to each other. You don't know how to show love to the world. You Christians are just so narrow-minded, you can't understand that there are multiple genders. Our daughter is in college now, and she had to fill a form out, and it was male, female, unknown. I'm not sure who hasn't taken a shower in so long they wouldn't know. That's not complicated. But that's because I'm a Christian, and I believe God made male and female. And apparently I'm just too narrow-minded to understand the plethora of other options available. I'm crazy. I must be a raving madman to not understand the simplicity of what they're teaching me. We need to be aware that the world will approach us that way. And we need to be prepared in confidence in Jesus Christ. But the other hand is this. It is incumbent upon us to take his love to the world and to take it with zeal that makes others look at us and think of things kind of like what they did in verse 21. But others said, "These are not the sayings of a man possessed by a demon. Can a demon open the eyes of the blind?" The church can't be all bad. The church is out there helping feed people. The church can't be all bad. They had a day where single mothers got to come in and get oil changes for free. The church can't be all bad. They're having a Mother's Day out thing at night so that my parents who are going crazy can come and drop their kids off for a little while. Okay, all parents are going a little crazy. I just want you to know that right now. But we'll be specific to a certain group, okay? The church can't be all bad because they seem to like each other, kind of. The church can't be all bad because I've never seen the kind of tolerance to attacks on them return to love the way they do. It is my hope that at Eastern Heights, people see us and verse 21 becomes the thing they say. That church can't be bad. Because they hear the master's voice and they do what he says to do. And things about them are different. Things about them are crazy different from the way other churches are, from the way other people are. It is my prayer, my hope that when we go out into the community, we hear the master's voice and we pass it along to them. It is my hope that when we go out into the community, they see us and they cannot figure out why, other than God inspired, that we are the way we are. And it is my hope that when we go out into the community, people talk about Eastern Heights and they go, that church really seems to love people. Not just in their building, but everywhere. It is my hope that we will hear the master's voice and we will know he is ours and we are his, and that we are part of a larger scheme. It's my hope that invitation time today, if you don't know him, you've heard something today that has challenged you. It's my hope today that you heard about me talking about Jesus laying down his own life and taking it up, and that makes you curious and you want to come up here and find out more about that, because the only way to go to heaven is through Jesus Christ. The only way to be with God forever and have a God who loves you so much is to be with Jesus Christ and accept him as your Savior. At our invitation time today, I know there's a bunch of you out there that have already accepted Jesus, and so I hope you remember that paradigm shift I was talking about. And I hope today that as you're standing there and we're singing this song, I hope you would pray to God today that he would change your mind. Change it to one that reaches outside the community of these walls and reaches to the community at large for his name and in his voice. The invitation today is for salvation. It's to join the church. It's to be baptized. It is whatever it needs to be for you. But for today, for the bulk of you, what I am saying is your invitation today is to change and hear the master's voice. The good shepherd's calling. Will we follow him? Would you stand as I pray?